Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
Thank you for being with us today on Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com. Yates Flooring Center chat line is open. Early activity on it. It's presented, the Double T 97.3 mobile app, by Happy State Bank, where you can go and participate and post your thoughts and comments. Yates Flooring Center chat line. Visual Edge IT hotline is open too this morning. We'll have High School Fan Zone on the air tonight. Garrett Luft, our man with the plan, reports to us that he'll have Coronado High School boys wrestling coach Derek Gonzalez. I got to be honest with you, I didn't know that Coronado had a wrestling program.
A lot of teams in the area.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, and I knew that. I knew that some did, but I didn't know that they did. Okay. Estacado, their boys wrestling coach, Pierre Leonard, will be on as well. And then a couple of basketball coaches, Lubbock High's Reggie Gibbs at 6:40 tonight. And then we'll finish things up with the Monterey boys basketball coach, Josh Davis. That'll be tonight from 6 until, I don't know, 7:30 or so?
7:30.
Okay, thank you. 6 until 7:30 tonight on 100.7 The Score. It's kind of a victory Monday, but man, we're a long ways away from that. They called it a victory Friday, I think, so I'm not sure the victory Monday still holds for the Cowboys because they won last Thursday, but they've moved way past that. They got to get ready for the Philadelphia Eagles. But we'll have the Cowboy Hour tonight at 6, and then Monday Night Football tonight, the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Cincinnati Bengals. That's not the most stellar of matchups given what's kind of gone on with both those teams, especially the Bengals losing their stud quarterback. But we will have the game for you tonight at 7 here on Double T 97.3. The Cowboys getting ready for the Eagles. Eagles fell to the San Francisco 49ers. You know, as that game was going on and it got further and further to a rout, I was like, is this a good thing for the Cowboys or a bad thing for the Cowboys? Because, you know, sometimes you have angry teams that come back. When you get your face rubbed in it, it's not always the best of things for the next team, especially good teams like the Eagles. Yeah,
it feels like the Eagles have been skating on some thin ice of late, and I think it finally just caught up with them, and they had one of those games where they just couldn't get it done, and the 49ers just flat out outplayed them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Brock Purdy had 4 touchdown passes. They won it 42-19.
Why is it always the other team that gets to be angry coming into a game? It's never your team. It's always the other team. Well, you never worry about the Cowboys off of a loss being angry going into this week, or the Red Raiders being angry going into this week. It's no, we're wallowing in the muck and never can get in. We're going to get in our own way, and we're going to make 2 losses out of 1. And
don't let last week beat you twice. Right? Thank you.
So it's the other team that's angry.
I feel like sometimes we say that. I felt like for example, after Wyoming, I was like, I was thinking, man, you're going to be disappointed. You know, that was just a bad day. You're gonna show out and play well against Oregon. I remember thinking that then. I don't remember thinking it in other games this season, though. I think it was more like what you were saying, Jeff. Mm-hmm. But there are some times that maybe it's more the way you described than the way I described. But I think sometimes we think that. Yeah. Just not never.
Yeah. Jalen Hurts yesterday, 26 of 45, 298 yards. Brock Purdy, though, 19 of 27, 314, 4 touchdowns. So that, and then, like I said, we'll have the Cowboys and the Eagles for you on Sunday Night Football, which should be a great game between those teams. And Cowboys now have a chance to kind of get themselves into position where they could tie for the division lead, right? And so, now your goal, not that they hadn't changed. I'm sure that they felt like, hey, if we could, get some help, then maybe we can do something.
It would be massive. I mean, like we talked about last week, the thought of having to go through Philly and San Francisco to get to the Super Bowl. I mean, if you can win the division somehow, find a way,
Sure.
then that becomes so much easier.
Yeah. So that'll be a 7:20 kick. We'll have it for you at 6 next Sunday night here on Double T 97.3, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. So that should be, like I said, it should be a lot of fun. And then we'll see what happens. After that, Cowboys then go to Buffalo. Okay. 6:20 this morning here on the Morning Drive. All right. Your thoughts on the 4-team playoff announcement yesterday with Michigan, Washington, Texas, and Alabama?
It's just pure disappointment for Florida State.
Absolutely.
Pure disappointment. I'm confused how Florida State can be ahead of Texas. And this is not about me hating Texas. Okay. I'm confused how Florida State can be ahead of Texas going into the weekend, beat a much higher ranked team, and somehow fall behind the Longhorns.
The thing that bothers me the most about this is we say all the time, next man up, okay? Coaches all the time, somebody gets hurt, next man up. Hey, can't worry about losing our quarterback. Johnny's going to come in and fill in for him. He'll do the best he can. We're a team. We're not just one player, blah, 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 blah. That's always the narrative. It's a narrative from Pee Wee to the pros. And so what the College Football Playoff Committee has said, hey, sorry you lost your quarterback. You're not good enough now to represent your school in the 14 playoff, despite the fact that you figured out a way to win with your third-string quarterback because your second-string quarterback was concussed.
And you would expect he'll be back by the bowl, the second string.
Yeah, the second-string quarterback. Right.
So you kick Florida State in. You take Texas out, who beat Bama, who's in.
I wouldn't.
At their place. So you put Texas in.
Yes, I would have.
So you don't have an SEC football team in the college football playoff.
So? The
premier league in college football, which we would all agree to say, their champion doesn't get it.
Sometimes you eat your own. I mean, we've seen that in the Big 12 before.
I don't understand. Again, Jeff, Texas already had credit for that win against Alabama when they were, 6th coming into the weekend?
7th.
How did they jump that many spots in front of Florida State when Florida State be a better team, way better team than Texas did? Yeah. Texas already had credit. They didn't beat Alabama this weekend and deserve so many more
style points or whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah.
They beat a very mediocre Oklahoma State team.
Don't disagree.
If it was the way it was coming into the weekend, how did that change?
By Alabama beating Georgia.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't get behind that.
You've got Texas with a win over Alabama. How do you kick them out when they beat them on their home field?
I mean, but you can't do all of that stuff. Well, this team beat this team, so that team beat that team, so that team beat that team.
I'd almost guarantee that's exactly what happened. Because Bama beat Georgia, Georgia falls out, that puts Bama in for the SEC championship, and Texas beat Bama.
So by the
I'll bet that's exactly how the conversation went.
But by the nature of their quote rules, to find the
there
best,
are no rules here.
Yeah.
The best four teams. That's what they stood behind. Is it the best four teams? These are the best four. These are the best four teams. Because what they do is they, after the first three are picked, then they rank the next three. And what they're saying is, or what they said was, that Alabama was the best of the next three.
Yeah, I actually think Texas should be in, not Alabama, but I think Florida State should be in. Okay.
You think Alabama should be in over Texas?
No, I think Texas should be in over Alabama.
Yeah, me
they
too.
each have one loss and they beat them.
Me too.
Head to head.
Yeah, that's
the simplest part to me.
That was my four were.
But I think Florida State should still be in.
I would have had Florida State as 3 and Texas as 4.
That's what I would have had.
Yeah. All right. 6-20.
Yeah, fully well knowing that I think Alabama may be the best team. Or, you know what? I think Georgia may be the best team. I don't know. Sorry. That's what happens when you have this stupid 4-team playoff.
Bit him in the old butt.
And a Power 5.
Yeah.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3. Presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
The Yates Flooring Center chat line is open. Go to the Double T 97.3 mobile app for that. It's presented by Happy State Bank. This from let me just go to the very, very beginning here. Surprised the committee did what they get paid to do. Hats off to them. I guess I'm more on the floor. I'm more on the Florida State side because I look at this and go, okay, so could this ever be Texas Tech where you win the Big 12, you go undefeated, and you get left at the dance? Now, with a 12-team playoff, that's not the case, moving forward after this year. But where you get picked in that 12-team playoff could be a factor because if you don't get one of the four, buys, or so to speak.
I just feel like I don't disagree with the Texters who think they got it right as far as are those the four best teams. I think I would throw Georgia into the mix. So you've got five. I don't know which are the four best there. I think those are the elite. Okay, those five. I think those are the best. Okay, but I also would say this. I feel like the committee was like a big, huge tease. Okay. Because it didn't matter what you were leading up to it. I mean, we know the Tuesday night show or whatever is just a spot carrier. It's something that they can make money on, all right? But clearly Florida State, I mean, who was sitting there in the top four, okay, had to have been feeling to themselves like, hey, I mean, if we just keep winning, we're good. We're in, okay? And again, because Texas didn't have a more impressive win than them over the weekend. Alabama definitely did. Yeah. Okay, Alabama definitely did. Okay, but Texas did not. So if you're adding up all those, what did they call them? Like something points, data points.
Data points,
okay,
yeah.
Adding up all those data points and heading into the weekend, Florida State's got this many and Texas has this many, Alabama has this many. So clearly Alabama got a large load of data points, right, to jump them into the mix, all right? But Texas did not get more than Florida State this weekend. Florida State beat Louisville, who I believe was ranked 10th. Is that? I think they were 10th. Okay, somewhere around there. Okay, so Florida State had to gain more than Texas this weekend. So basically, what that said to me is, okay, well, we put this little thing together we do for 7 weeks for you guys to watch on Tuesday nights or whatever, so we can get some FaceTime for the lead guy who runs the committee and all that kind of stuff, and we'll sell some commercials on ESPN and all.
Who's an ACC AD?
Yeah, all the above, blah 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 blah. Yeah. Okay. And then we're just going to ignore all that we've gone through. Okay, we're just going to sit down at the end and go, okay, who do we think is the best four? Don't even, just throw the records away. Who do we think is the best four?
Louisville was actually 14th in one poll.
14th and not 10th. Okay, all right.
But still
better than Oklahoma State. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Oklahoma State was 18th.
Right. So anyway, I just, again, I'm not like mad at the committee for picking the four that they did in regards to, I think they're four good teams. I think they're four deserving teams, four teams that could win the national championship. Okay. I think Georgia could also. But I feel like, okay, well then I just feel really bad for Florida State because they just kept winning. Even after facing some adversity, they
Power 5 school that won all their games.
Just kept winning and beating good teams, It wasn't like they had patsies after, they beat Florida, an SEC school, and not that they're great this year, but you know what I'm saying. And then they won their conference championship game. So it wasn't like they had Texas State and Sam Houston State scheduled at the end of the year. They still beat good teams with backup quarterbacks. So it's just to think that the committee ignored that prior to last week, and then all of a sudden said, nope, we're going to pay attention to it this week.
Yeah, and you heard about strength of schedule, and theirs was 55th, and Alabama's was higher, and we know that the SEC plays one less conference game than the others. I mean, think about Alabama. It took a 4th and goal situation from the 31 against Auburn for them to get into the SEC championship game. I mean, and there's always going to be, every team that wins a championship in every sport, there are some moments that goes their way, right? Sometimes it goes your way for whatever reason. The sports gods are in your favor. and they certainly were with Alabama in that Auburn game because they were dead to rights. They were dead to rights, and then there wouldn't be this situation.
Again, I don't want to criticize the committee too much because I think they got 4 really good teams in there. So I don't. It doesn't look like any of them should be blowouts. And if we're just looking for entertainment purposes, that's good.
Yeah, it looks and really for the first time for me, just for me personally, yesterday, I watched a lot of the bowl selection process and I made a point to be home so that I could watch for the 4 teams to be announced, and was really curious about, okay, is Alabama going to get in with Florida State and Texas be left out, or is Texas going to get in and Alabama's going to be out and Florida State's in? I knew there was a possibility that Florida State was going to get knocked out, but man, oh man, just to kind of see that firsthand, and then those players having to sit there and watch that show. I mean, that's they're going to have to putting Humpty Dumpty back together again for that Florida State, football program, because those kids thought they were headed to an opportunity to potentially play for a national championship, and now they're not.
Yeah, it's tough.
And I understand that if you want to point out the Florida State schedule, sure, there's holes in it, but they did beat 2 SEC schools. So
yeah, LSU in Florida.
Yeah, so I mean they did go outside of their purview, so to speak, and play some teams that are a little bit tougher, and then they won 14 games. I mean, they won 14 games. This is the first Power 5 school to go undefeated and not be in a situation where they're going to play for a national championship. So, and then you have the other end, which would have been the first, time in the college football playoff history that you didn't have an SEC school. Well, sometimes that happens. We've seen that in the Big 12 where you cannibalized yourselves.
Is there a rule that says you have to have an SEC?
No, there's
by
not.
definition, though, since this would be the first time it had happened, well, that happens. No, it doesn't happen. By definition, if there's always been one, then it doesn't happen.
Well,
I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying that's what's gonna this is a TV product. Eyeballs are on the SEC. People are going to watch Alabama.
All right, correction for myself. Apparently, they were already in the SEC championship game, but they obviously would not have been in contention for being in the top 4. So
with that loss.
So
yeah.
I understand. Just a little side correction there.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Thank you for being with us today on Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com. Yates Flooring Center chat line is open. Go to the Double T 97.3 mobile app. It's presented by Happy State Bank. The lucky lady and I made a last-minute, battlefield turnaround decision to go to Carol Lights Saturday night, and we were rewarded. It was spectacular.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed it. We're sitting there. It came on at 7:00, and sitting there in our recliners, and. I'd been watching football all day, so I was somewhat, comatose, and she was like, I'm sure that the football was like grinding in her ears, and she wanted to watch the Carol Lights. I'm like, well, do you want to go? Well, I would have liked to, we had that conversation. Well, I would have liked to have gone, but she didn't bring it up. And I'm like, well, so we went back and forth, and finally I just said, well, do you want to go? We can just go. Where will we park? Well, then we went through that whole deal. And so basically when you go to an event after it's way already started, there's no traffic. And so we were able to park behind in a lot. There was some spots but near the engineering key. Walked right through that little tunnel there and end up in the key, and then ended up in the middle of it. And it was really cool because I didn't have to hear we didn't hear all the early stuff, the thanking of all the people, it just goes on and on and on and on. But it was really cool because they had big TV screens set up, in different locations so that if you didn't get to the front, you could hear what people were saying or the singing.
That's cool.
Yeah, and stuff like that. And then they had, it's funny because it's like they started, I thought it was going to go till 8:30, which it did, but I didn't realize the lights were going to go on at 8, and these guys behind me were counting down. Oh, okay, so, this is happening. We got here, at the right time, because we were only there about, I don't know, half an hour at best before they turned on the lights. We got there about 7:30. But they had a drone show, which was awesome, just kind of like what they did at Jones Stadium. But they had, Raider Red and, Santa Claus and, riding a reindeer and, Double T and Raider Power and Wreck-'em. They didn't put guns up. I was kind of disappointed by that, but it's like, I get it. I mean, at some point in time, that's going to become, you don't want that to become too political. But anyway, it was spectacular, and the fireworks were great that they had. So that was really cool.
I want to go back to something you said. How did the conversation go between you and your wife about deciding to go?
Well, I said, did you want to go? She said, well, it would have been nice if you'd have said something or asked. I said, well, you could have too. We kind of went back.
And you go back and forth.
Right.
And the way you described it before, and you can tell me if I'm wrong in this description, that this is how you didn't, that your description of it, not how it happened. I want to make this clear. That it was like, well, do you want to go? Well, let's just go.
Right. Well, do you want to go? Let's just go.
Right. I don't think that's how you said that.
Oh.
Because I haven't married and had this fight before. And I'm willing to bet the fight more went something like this. Well, do you want to go?
No, it wasn't like
just go.
It wasn't. No, it didn't get
that way.
No.
Okay. Well, then kudos to you and the lucky lady.
Yeah, it didn't get that way.
I have had that fight before.
I'm just glad I'm not married to either one of you two.
One day I'm going to count how many.
That decision would have been made hours before the event had took place if it was in your house, Jamie.
One day I'm going to count how many times Chuck says, Okay, well, maybe that will be an initiative for 2024. I'll write that down as an initiative for.
You should just have one initiative, like one main focus initiative.
Well, I've tried to do that. I can't necessarily say that I can check that off, but I've tried to do that.
I'm not saying focus needs to be your initiative. I'm saying you just need one. I think if you just knuckle down on one and have that be your sole focus for the initiative, that you wouldn't get distracted by trying to do 5 or 6.
Maybe today's question of the day should be, let our listening audience answer, what should the three of us have for our one individual initiative for 2024?
Yeah.
Maybe Jamie, stop being a jerk.
No, I don't. I think you're just...
Chuck, what, Jeff? What are you pointing at?
I'm not pointing at anything. What are you talking about?
Chuck always talks about staying in his lane, so he'll stay in his lane, and Jeff will work on talking louder.
Yeah. Somebody says they did do a guns up. It shot and exploded into a star, and it was the masked rider riding the reindeer. Yeah, but I mean the word guns up, I guess. But yeah, they did have that. I'd forgotten about that. You're exactly right. Anyway, it was really cool. There were a lot of people there, and the hats off to Texas Tech for doing something like that, because it doesn't just happen. And it was very well organized, and looked like a lot of people there having fun, had their kids there, just college kids, townies like us, and it was pretty cool. Let's see, this from the Yates Flooring Center chat line from Bobby Hot Dogs. In my opinion, here's how it should have played out. College football playoff: Michigan, Washington, Alabama, Georgia. Florida State, as other schools in Florida have been known to do, can self-proclaim to be the national champs, and UT can go suck an egg. I would not have put Georgia in there at all based on what happened on Saturday. They lost. They lost at the wrong time. And
that's really what it was all about.
That's really what it was all about.
At the wrong time.
2024 initiative, Shake More Hands. Yeah. Based on some conversations that I think are being had by others involving me, that probably is going to be the narrative for 2024.
Is the handshaking?
Well, shaking more hands means, hey, thanks for doing business with me.
Oh. I think you shake a lot of hands that you don't do business with.
That's true, I do. Yeah. I met a Double T 97.3 listener at Carol Lights on Saturday night.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Right.
Did you sell anything?
Did not.
Well, then it didn't matter.
I know, right? No, sometimes, I mean, it's all about planting seeds, okay? Just think of me as Johnny Appleseed, okay? My long distant relative.
So, as you guys know, I was on the trail this weekend, on a mountain with my daughter.
Right.
And I'm fairly, when we come across other hikers, you don't come across a ton, depending on how close you are to the trailhead or whatever. You don't come across a ton, but I'm usually pretty friendly. You know, hey, how are you guys? How's the venture going? And then, you know, as we cross paths, never stopping, right?
Sure.
Like, hey, be safe, good luck, you know, whatever.
Have fun.
And every once in a while they'll, hey, warning, there's such and such up here, whatever. As a matter of fact, at one point somebody said, hey, we just saw a bear and a cub up there about 15 minutes ago, so be careful, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, my daughter says to me at one point, Dad, is it odd that you're way more friendly with people out in the woods than you are with people in the city? She said, it seems like you talk way more to them than you do people around town. I said, I don't really know why. But again, never stop. You just keep walking.
Sure, you keep walking.
You cross, right. And then you just keep walking.
Because you're on a mission. Yeah, you're on a mission.
I don't know why that is.
Yeah. Just kind of the way it is. Again, I'll say based on what Oklahoma lost 2 games to 2 teams, Texas beat handily. Your argument is invalid. To this person saying they beat UT and UT barely scraped by 4 teams that won't be in bowl games by 10 points or less. Oklahoma is clearly a better team than UT, so they should be in. That is if they really want the 4 best teams. I don't know how anybody could sit there and say Oklahoma should be in the 4-team playoff. Hell, they're barely in the top 12.
Well, because you could say, well, they beat Texas. That's the argument.
That's the argument. Yeah. It makes my head hurt. The whole thing.
No, again, there are 6 teams where you can really say they deserve to be in.
Absolutely.
Okay, and that's what's wrong with this stupid 14 playoff that we have all known forever has been wrong. And with people sitting around going, well, until we can make more money off of it. They could have made more money before. They were just stubborn.
They lost to Oklahoma State and Kansas. I mean, they should have to lose all their football privileges.
I mean, the Oklahoma State game, I think they lost to the Big 12 officials.
Yeah. 7:25. Jamie's question of the day is next.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Time now for Jamie's question of the day on Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3.
7:32 this morning here on the Morning Drive. Jamie's question of the day.
All right, it's bowl season. So we're going bowling.
Yes, sir. Okay. Woo!
I'm going to allow you guys to give me 2 answers.
Okay.
I want you to just tell me, I mean, flat out, what are your favorite 2 Texas Tech bowl games?
Man. Okay.
And it doesn't have to be ones that you attended, just...
Oh, okay. Well, I was thinking about ones I had attended.
Well, I mean, it can be that, but it doesn't have to be.
It's funny. I was looking through some pictures last night, and I picked up one. I picked up a disc from a long time ago, and I don't know what's on this one. And it was the 2009 Cotton Bowl, and me and the lucky lady and daughters 1 and 2 all went to that together. So. It was not a game that ended in victory, but it was a great family event because we all 4 went to the football game together. So I'm going to say the 2009 Cotton Bowl, which was at the Cotton Bowl, and have a reasonably good picture in front of the Cotton Bowl sign. This is not what you're looking for. I can tell by the look on your face.
I mean, you're picking a loss.
I know, but you told me it didn't have to be. It didn't have to be one that you that you went to. I'm just telling you, we had a good time. I've told you guys many times that you've got to go to these things and you got to have your fun beforehand. I mean, we lost 47-34 to Ole Miss. I would tell you,
and led 14-0.
I would tell you the game that it wasn't the most fun because of what led up to it, but I finally got to see Tech in a bowl win, which was the 2010 Alamo Bowl. That was we all know what happened just days before that. It was a friggin' train wreck, but I mean,
what was fun about that? I mean, I guess you won the
game, and how you
terrible stretch being a Red Raider fan.
Oh, there's no question. I mean, it was awful. I didn't go to the last 2 wins. We were going to go to the Liberty Bowl, but I'd gotten COVID, tested positive, and couldn't go to that. So
okay, those
are my 2.
Didn't see those coming.
You will not hear the words cotton and bowl in any of my answers with regards to Texas. It's as much as I want to like the Cotton Bowl, and I will listen to the Cotton Bowl when we air it because Brad Sham is the voice of the Cotton Bowl, and I will listen to Brad Sham read the phone book. I will not ever say anything involving Texas Tech and the Cotton Bowl.
Brad Sham read the phone book.
Yes. I would, because he would do a great job of it, and it would be fun.
Do they even have phone books anymore?
Not with people's names in it. No, they don't. Just the businesses. There's a yellow page book that's still being published, but yeah.
Okay.
All right. 04 Holiday Bowl has to be number 1 on the list because of everything about that game. You were taking on Cal, number 4 team in the country, and you went in there and whipped their tail. Like, they didn't want to be there. It was the definition of one team wanted to be there and one team didn't. One team was excited, one team wasn't. All of that goes.
I mean, it wasn't a blowout. I mean, we still had to come back.
Right, but
we trailed into the second half, didn't we? Am I misremembering?
I think there was one. You were down by a little, but again, you took care of business there. Like, you showed out. It's an awesome looking trophy, and that hasn't done anything to do with it except the fact that it is sitting in your football facility. Like, you own that trophy and everything that goes with it, and who you beat factors.
Okay.
The second one is probably, I mean, I hate to say it was 2 years earlier when you beat Clemson in 2002. That was a fun game.
That was a fun game. Tangerine Bowl, 55-15.
It meant something, too, because it was the Tangerine Bowl. And then you see where Clemson goes and where we went, and I get a little sad. But, again, that was a fun win. Those would be probably 1 and 2.
Those are 2 and 3 for me in that order. The Holiday Bowl was awesome. It was just really cool because you felt like Cal was this dominant, great program. And I felt like that was like a coming out party for Mike Leach's Red Raiders. And people across the country started to say, man, it's fun to watch that team play. So I think that one was high on my list. The Tangerine Bowl was just, I don't know why. Just Clemson has a big name.
Yes.
And Kingsbury and the Red Raiders were just dominant and just blew them out. So that was a lot of fun. Number 1 on my list, I mean, as a Red Raider fan, the Insight Bowl in 2006. I mean, the greatest bowl comeback in college football history.
Sure.
I mean, you win 44-41 in overtime when you're just left for dead, as you should have been. And you come back to win that game. That was, I mean, the most entertaining Red Raider football game maybe ever.
Right.
Okay, and that's number 1 on my list. I've been to a bunch of bowl games. I didn't go to any of those 3. But those are my 3 favorite.
My only problem with the game against Minnesota is I was so mad because you were down so much in that game.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were.
Oh, sure. And I didn't quit.
Yeah.
I didn't quit. But I wanted to.
Yeah.
I wanted to just absolutely destroy things.
Yeah, I remember then in Houston, you beat Minnesota in a bowl game too in 2012 in a game you had no right winning either. You were down in that game, and
Meineke car care.
And DJ Johnson, is that the name, made an interception late when they were it was tied, and they tried to march down the field, and he picked off a pass, ran it back to, I don't know, 25, 30, somewhere in there, and then we kicked a field goal in the final game.
Yeah, that was a good win. I was at that game.
With an interim head coach.
Yeah, Chris Thompson.
The thing that confuses, that I will still be confused to this day about the first Minnesota game, why they quit throwing to their tight end. Because he was open the entire, he was the whole reason that Tech was going, I don't know what defense is at this point in the game.
Well,
through the first half.
They just got super conservative
but never went back to it.
Yeah. And their head coach got fired. So there's that.
04 Holiday, 06 Insight, 07 Gator, 2002 Tangerine, in that order. This from a new listener. Good grief. Chuck is such an idiot. Okay. Biggest bowl at comeback ever versus Minnesota. The one against the Gophers was pretty good. I can see Jamie's WTF face through the radio. Okay.
Why the face, Jamie? Why the face?
These questions are all subjective. All right. So they're all subjective. I clearly took it the wrong way. So that's, I guess.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Good morning with Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. Great to have you with us today on Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com. We come to you from the First United Bank studio. Texas Tech headed to the Independence Bowl. 6-6 is what the Red Raiders finished. They'll take on Cal, 6-6. Game is December the 16th in Shreveport, Louisiana. Coach Joey McGuire on a Zoom call last night talking about how his father-in-law was excited about it because apparently he's been known to go to the casino there in the Shreveport area and apparently has some places lined up already where he can get himself a hotel room and do a little casinoing. So he was kind of fired up about it.
Okay.
Let's just make sure that there's not any illegal bets made.
Right. I mean,
we don't want to be Michigan. Or no, it wasn't Michigan. Who was the one that got popped? Oh no, LeBron got popped.
LeBron's manager.
Manager got popped.
Yeah, LeBron's manager got popped.
Let's just make sure we're not doing anything that we shouldn't be doing. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I mean, he can play the slots if he wants, or he can, go to the roulette wheel if he wants.
Anything he's allowed to do, I encourage him to do.
Play get back. He could play, cards or whatever he wants to do.
He can do whatever he's allowed to do, and I encourage him I just don't want him doing anything.
I was going to say backgammon, but I've never heard of anybody betting on backgammon, in a casino.
I have no idea.
So, anyway, I guess the good of this is you get in, you get out, you get it done, because he said they're going to start practicing on Tuesday, and that they've already had some practices with the younger guys, and some of the guys have been lifting. Feels like he mentioned that Baron Morton could be 100%. Yeah.
Not all of the guys are lifting.
Well, I mean, that the guys were lifting. I mean, I don't know how many. I'm not taking attendance.
I would just assume that football players basically lift.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's more serious about it than where you're 4 times a week. But I would assume football players.
Sure.
You hit the gym at least once a week.
Sure, they're
every day, every week of their life.
Sure, they're lifting. They're lifting all the time. They're lifting all the time.
Had some.
You
guys
could say they're
lifting.
raising the roof even.
They're raising the roof. I really wasn't going to bring this up. I thought about bringing it up, but now that it's on the Yates Flooring Center chat line, I probably should reveal what happened on the Zoom call last night with Coach McGuire.
Okay.
So I was on my computer and I was trying to set something up, and I was talking to somebody. I was trying to do something, and it wasn't going to work out. So I went ahead and went on my iPad for the Zoom call, and I assumed everybody was muted, and that they would, if you wanted to ask a question, that you could raise your hand and ask the question, on the Zoom call, right? Well, we were having, the boys over and their parents to decorate our Christmas tree. They were going to come over at 5:30, and they got there early. And so I thought, hey, they walked in the door right as his Zoom call was going on. And I called them over to see if they wanted to listen to Coach McGuire. They were excited. I just didn't realize that my mic was on, and that I interrupted a question, and I interrupted Coach McGuire. I didn't interrupt Coach McGuire. I interrupted a question that was going to him. And then I went back and looked at it later and went, oh, at least you didn't see because I had my video off. I just thought my mic was off too, but it wasn't. So that's an embarrassing moment for us from yesterday. Sorry.
Super fun.
Well, it's just, it's kind of how that works. At any rate, what can you get out of this bowl game? Younger guys can play. Do you feel like your season changes dramatically one way or the other if you lose?
I feel a lot better about things being above 500.
Yeah.
6-7 feels super icky.
Yeah. No, there's no question. I mean, it's not like, but see, I've said in the past where, hey, you win a bowl game and then you kind of take that momentum into the off season, but I think I'm starting to buy into what you've said on that.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily buying into that.
Yeah. 8:07 this morning here on the Morning Drive. Thoughts, comments, the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to WT973.com. Do you think there'll be more guys in the portal today?
So today is when it becomes official, I guess. I would assume that anybody up to this point, all the guys that we've heard about, that they would have done it already. We would have heard about it already. I don't know. Maybe there's one or two trickle in.
Does it bother you?
Well, if it's somebody that's good, I don't want to lose them.
Mm-hmm. But if they don't want to be here, right? If they don't want to be here, are we better off not having them?
Yeah, there's probably truth to that.
I mean, that's kind of my deal on this. Is that I'd rather, if they're gonna leave, then fine. It's like anybody at any place of business. Hey, if you don't want to be here, then do us all a favor and leave.
Okay, but you can't just. In college football, you can't just tell everybody, hey, if you don't want to be here, you should just go. And no, and you don't want to be there, you should just go again. And you don't want to be there, you should just keep going.
Well,
I mean, it's don't we teach, aren't we, haven't we gotten up on our soapbox and said, hey, how about, trying to make a situation better? How about fighting through some adversity? How about, okay, you're not the starter, but be patient and earn yourself more minutes? Mm-hmm. I mean, haven't we said those things?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, then we can't just say, well, if you don't want to be here, you should leave.
No, I agree with what you're saying, and I agree in perseverance, and I agree in fighting through adversity and the bitter with the sweet and all of that stuff. But what I can't deal with are malcontents that can't fight through it. I mean, if you're a weak soul, okay, and you don't have the ability to fight through the hard times, and you only want to be here for the good times. Well, it's never going to be 100% good. We're all going to have a bad sandwich that we have to eat with our jobs or with our lives.
Life.
Yeah, it's called life, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's called life.
No,
so
you don't want a bunch of malcontents. I do think that could hurt your program.
So that's why I'm just like, hey, if you don't want to be here, don't be here.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at Double T 97.3.com.